Alright, so while I'm driving the brand new Model Y here, the 2022 long range that we picked up just a couple weeks ago, and heading back from our road trip, did want to give some information on our 2019 standard range Model 3 and the total cost of ownership of it over the 3-year lease that we had. So I put on about 25,000 miles onto it over those 3 years. Mostly at the end, honestly. It was kind of weird. Like, we got it before COVID. We knew it was just going to be like my commuting car. It was the first time that we had done a lease at like super low mileage. We started doing leases on the BMWs a few years ago as sort of my commuting car, because we knew like almost exactly how many miles we were going to put on it in a year. And especially with me having like car ADD and not wanting to keep anything for more than a couple of years, it just made more sense for us to lease than to buy. So we started leasing then, and then the Model 3, especially with like the cost and the residual and how few miles we were going to put on it, certainly made a lot more sense for us to lease than to buy it. Although in retrospect, I really wish we had just bought it. The leases, they don't allow you to buy out at the end for the Model 3 or the Model Y now. And with the prices resale prices as crazy high as they are on all Teslas and all EVs these days, I would have made a significant amount of money had we just like kept the lease, bought it out, and then immediately resold it. And I probably just would have kept the car anyway. Like, I was loving that car. It was great for us. I was very happy with it, but yeah, whatever. Didn't have that option, so they took it back. So for these ones, just decided to buy, figuring that first of all we can resell it at any point and almost certainly make a profit, and like we're not entirely sure exactly what we want to do car wise over the next couple of years. We're still kind of figuring all of that out. So yeah, so over the course of the 3 years of that lease, I was paying about $450 a month on it. So I think all said and done, over those 3 years, I paid about a third of the total price of the car, which actually like works out pretty well, considering, you know, the most of the value of the car is going to be like in the first couple of years that you own it anyway. So not bad, like overall rate wise. But really the bigger thing was I put $0 into that car otherwise, with the exception of like a couple of things at the end of the lease, but I wouldn't have done them like had I just kept the car. I only had to do them because they charged me basically to return the lease. But so over 3 years and 25,000 miles, obviously there's no oil changes, no gas that you're putting into the car. And so $0 like maintenance wise there. I didn't have to have any service on it, never took it into a dealership, had nothing that required like any actual servicing. And so, you know, you factor in like the cost of your time too, and not having to like go to a dealership all the time for oil changes, or to get like service and maintenance and stuff. And that certainly factors in too. Plus I saved a ton of money on gas. According to Tesla's app, over the course of that 3 years, I saved somewhere in the ballpark of $6,000 to $8,000 on gas. And that's even an estimate off of like a slightly higher electricity rate than what we actually pay at home, kind of based off of like averages around us. I don't know, for whatever reason, like ours always seems to be super cheap. I don't know if it's because we're just charging at night all the time, and so rates are lower, or you know, something special about us. But we seem to pay way less for electricity than everybody else, which is another reason that we haven't done solar yet, but still would like to. So we saved a ton on charging versus gas. I guess I'd say I didn't have a lot of, you know, service or maintenance or anything on like previous cars that I owned, especially newer ones. But you know, like you have the oil changes all the time, even with like the BMWs. You're getting, even with like the synthetic oil that they use, you know, getting a change every year or so, versus every couple of months. Like that still adds up, and it's still a pain every single time. You have to go like get a loaner or just sit there, and just, I don't know, I just hate that experience. So it's really nice not having to do that. There's like, you know, much less wear and tear in all the parts of this car. So even though we didn't have any maintenance on it like up to date, it's very likely that over the next 10 plus years we still would have had none also. Like, there's really not much that would wear out or need to be replaced or anything. So that would continue through the total ownership of the car, and I expect to see that with this one. Never even had to like replace the windshield fluid. I don't know, we didn't seem to use very much of that. Main thing was the tires. So the front tires were like pretty much completely fine. They still had some like, good amount of tread and like even sort of the little stringy things on some of it. The back tires though, so that was a standard range, which is rear wheel drive only. The back tires were like pretty worn down after 25,000 miles, which is a little bit faster than I would expect. And I think that's probably because the acceleration and just like how much power the Model 3 can put down into the tires, I think wears those down quite a bit more. So I'm interested to see on this one and in the long range Model 3 with all-wheel drive, does that even things out a little bit more and kind of prolong the life of all of the tires, or does it just shred all four of them just as fast? So I was a little bit surprised about that, but I guess I was pleasantly surprised that they weren't as expensive as I would have thought. I think they ended up being like $300 per tire. So certainly not cheap, but I was expecting that like they're Tesla specific tires. EVs in general like usually have specific tires to help with efficiency and aerodynamics and like the weight of the car. So add all of those things together, plus like they have the tire pressure sensors in them. I thought it might be like $600 a tire, but not too bad. And then the other thing was the wheels. I guess I don't know. I've done like a little bit more comparison now between the 3 and the Y. The 3 has much less clearance in the tires than the Y. So they're 18-inch tire and the Y are 19. But that extra inch, I guess, or half inch on each side, makes a considerable difference, like with curb height. So the Y, the rims of the tires sit like just above curb height, whereas on the 3, they're like right at it. So any time that I'm like parallel parking or even just like pulling into a curb spot, it seems like I'm just kind of like riding the rims on the curbs, and they just got absolutely hammered from that. And it's not just me. Like you can go ahead and say I'm a terrible driver, which yeah, sure I am. But it's every Tesla I see around has like the same wear on the tires. So it's definitely not just me. It's a Tesla thing too. So that was another big one. I had that on the 3 tires. The only one I didn't was on the driver's side door, front driver's side wheel. Probably because I'm usually parallel parking on that side anyway. But each of those needed to be like resurfaced, and that actually wasn't too crazy bad. I think they were 60 each, which if I had known that in the first place, I might have had them done like earlier on. Once I realized that I was doing that all the time, I started driving a little bit different and like way more carefully around curbs, and was able to avoid it more. So I probably could have had them resurfaced earlier and like actually maintain them for a bit longer. But we'll see how we do with this one. I suspect it won't be too long until we end up doing that again. But that was it. Those are the only costs that went into it. No gas, no maintenance, no nothing. Much cheaper car to own and maintain over time than a Dino Juice car. And so I know, like, one of the big criticisms right now of electric cars is the perceived cost of ownership, and just like the outright price that you've got to invest to get into one in the first place. They generally run anywhere from like, I don't know, 8 to 15,000 more than like an equivalent sort of gas-powered one. But you're going to save that even in a couple of years of ownership between the gas and the maintenance and everything. So you've got to think about, like, if you can put that extra expense in early on, it's definitely going to pay off in the long term. It's a good investment. And the longer you keep the car, the more it's going to pay off too. So I really wouldn't worry too much about that. So unfortunately, Tesla still does not, still and hasn't for a while now, not gotten the federal tax incentive, the $7,500 tax credit that a lot of other EVs get because they have sold too many and are above the cap now. I believe Nissan is the other one that is out now, and nobody seems to be quite sure like where Ford is with that, but it seems like they might be getting there pretty soon, like the next year or so. It's unfortunate because I get that there's criticism of it that we shouldn't be like just paying people to get into EVs, but it also helps, and like especially since one of the big concerns people have with EVs is just that outright cost. Helping to reduce that and giving some incentive to move over from a gas-powered car, I think makes a huge difference, especially right now with the crazy gas prices. Anything we can do like to get more people in EVs is a good thing. So I really wish they would extend that or raise the cap. I know Tesla doesn't care too much about it, but I think we can all be honest. Like the reason they don't care about it is because they're not getting it, and they'd rather nobody got it, rather than thinking about it the other way and sort of being like creating a even slate for everybody, which I think would be the better thing to do. So it's unfortunate that you don't get that now, but and that Tesla's been raising prices so much lately. But it's only going to keep going up, I think, and especially with the high demand that is coming right now with gas prices and just the sheer amount of interest in electric cars, it's only going to get worse. So now's the time to go if you're even considering it. And the initial upfront cost that you might pay as an increase right now is something you're going to make back over time anyway, as long as you can afford that outright expense. So overall, especially because of that, it's not the only reason that I loved the Tesla over the last 3 years, but certainly that cost of ownership being non-existent and saving me a considerable amount of money by not having to go to the gas pumps and having no maintenance and not having to ever go to a dealership or anything. It's a big reason that I love that car so much, and why I decided to get not only another Model 3 but this Model Y also. So I hope that helps you out. If you've got any other questions about the cost of owning and maintaining a Tesla, any model now, I guess, since I've got experience with a couple, let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. If you're interested in this kind of content and learning more about Teslas, if you've got any questions generally about Tesla, specifically about the Model Y or the Model 3, let me know, and there'll be more videos coming soon, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. Bye.